So everybody, thanks for being here for part 3 of our live Pieware series. And tonight we're bringing it all to life, which I think is going to be really interesting. You're going to learn lots of cool things if you don't, or just be reminded. We're hoping that you're going to play along. So whether you're watching this live now or you're watching the recording later, there are 2 files to download on the website page where you signed up or where you're watching this. So please download those and play along at home on your own Pieware. And Joe, I want to mention to everybody, we're going really fast through this series. It's sort of like watching you do things live, and you can explain how you're doing things. But if you're sort of new to all this, or you really want a slower, go at your own pace kind of thing, I want to remind everybody your course at martinartseducation.com, which is how to write drill, Pieware, and drill design basics. This is really great. So why don't you just say a little bit about that before you jump in?
Yeah, the tutorial is very basic, kind of how we started 2 weeks ago, but goes a little bit slower. Sorry.
Bless you.
Whew, dusty in here. Yeah, the tutorial goes a lot slower. Then you can, of course, pause and go back if you need to. There are several chapters with files that you can open up and go through, and it talks about every tool a little bit more in depth. And then there are four chapters on planning and writing and putting it all together, and kind of what we're doing in these workshops, but at a slower pace and with a little bit more attention to click here, that type of thing. Whereas these, I assume most of you are just kind of watching, or if you are following along, kind of just gleaning from the tools that I use, some of the shortcuts that I use, and hopefully that is helping you. But the tutorial really goes a little bit more step by step. So yeah, if you want that as a resource to fall back on, I know if you're wanting to design drill, you'll be in Pieware a bit more than maybe if you're a band director, where you go into Pieware 1 or 2 times per year based off of when you need to start writing your own stuff. So it's nice to have that resource to go back to when you're jumping back into Pieware and get on it. So
yeah, and I was just going to remind everybody, I put the link to it in the chat if you're watching this live. And also, if you're watching live and you have a question, please type it into the chat. I'll be watching that as he's talking and explaining things. And if it's something you want to ask yourself, which is fine, just type that in your question as well. Hey, I'd like to ask this myself. But don't hesitate if he's doing something and you want something clarified to please speak up. Use the chat feature. All right, Joe, I'm getting out of your way. Here we go.
All right. So if you checked out the link to the files for session 3, there was one, I believe, that was a designer file. And then there was just the session 3 file, version 9. If you open up the version 9 file, that's the one we're going to start with. The designer file has the finished drill already done, so you don't want to have that one open. But we included it just so that if you did want to go in and look at it later to see what I did, you can do that. But the file you should have open should look very similar to the one I have open. So let me just get into my share screen mode. I wanted to get right to it this week and not have a whole lot of the basic stuff. Everyone's out here. We've got the band on the fields. We've got some prop boxes that we're using. We have 8 of them. The rifles are on. And so everybody is pretty much in place to get going. I've even got the drill synced and the page tabs added at the bottom. So, but what you'll notice if you do scroll along the bottom is that there is nothing written. I did add some visuals to the first holes. But I wanted to spend this session this week really just writing and allowing you to just kind of see my process, continue to give you an opportunity to ask questions if something arises and you really want to ask why I did something. Or I want to be put in those situations where we're doing real life drill. And now is the time to, ask those questions. Sometimes we don't remember them until we actually get into Pieware and we're doing the thing in real life. So it's good to have these real life scenarios. All right, so our band is already on the field. Everyone has their instruments. I want to draw attention to 1 or 2 things that I do before we get going. When I label my band members, or my performers, I should say, I make sure to do a couple things. I think I mentioned this last week, but for every label, add the name of the instrument as well. So I have their label and then I have their instrument. So if they're TX3, it also says tenor sax. This really helps for coordinate cards. Don't leave the name part blank. And as you go through, you can see that I have a name for everyone. Now, if you don't want, if you think you got everybody, you can always check the cast editor, which is in utilities. And you can see that I've added my names next to everybody. And you can do that here as well. You don't have to do it in the label mode. You can do it right in this category here and then hit OK. I also do a little thing where I make my drum line, I'll put DL, and then I'll put a dash, and then like bass drums, or DL snare drum, DL tenor drum. And I do that because when it sorts the coordinate cards, all of the drumline coordinate cards are near each other. Just trying to make it easier for people to get organized for rehearsal. I don't know if you were like me. When I was a band director, my drum majors did all of that. So my drum majors would cut out all the coordinate cards, sort them out, hand them out to the kids, and at least the first time. And that's how we did, coordinate card handing out, passing out, or if a kid lost theirs and they need a new one, that type of thing. So having that extra info in the label category is really good. Just wanted to put that out there. I also color code, as you can see, my sections. I've got blue for the winds, purple for the guard, and red for the drums. It's just a nice quality of life thing while you're writing. Helps you just to make sure you see. Sometimes I make my brass black as well, so I can see that all these brass players over here are black. You can change that just hitting the label tool, click on the color, click black, okay, and repeat color. And now all of our brass players are black on the field. So that'll help, and that'll be for the whole drill. All right, so I'm going to play the music file for you. I believe I put the score in there as well if you wanted to follow along, but I'll kind of explain to you what's happening in this chunk. So we're going to produce the entire minute here to the end. And if you're a band director and you've been doing band directing for a while, you've probably heard this piece. It's called Ride by Samuel Hazo. And what you're going to hear first is that this is kind of the middle of the song, and there are some feature sections. So we see this a lot and program a lot in marching band where, this section plays, this section plays, this section, just kind of, so not everyone has to play. But in this case, I've got 8 props and I've got them locked. So we'll talk about how to unlock those, but they're right underneath the rifle members. And we're going to talk about how to use those and set them up and how to move them. But let's kind of get a feel for what the music sounds like. I hope this doesn't come across too loud. If it does, you can turn me down and maybe just play it on yours. Okay. And so I'm going to open up the real view as well, because the first hold is already programmed with some visuals I added. You'll notice the flags are spinning and that sort of thing. All right. Here's the setup. Trumpets and mellophones. Good wind. The brass. Drum break. Kind of a full stop moment there. Off again. Changing dynamic. And a big ending chord. Now, some of the end stuff in the original piece is usually 5/4 time, and in this case is 6/4 time. So if that felt a little strange to you, it's because it is a little bit different. Now we're going to produce from this spot to the end, and talk about all of the details in getting these props moved properly. What's a good method for doing that so that in rehearsal they can move properly. Assigning enough people to move them, this type of thing. And then again, just like last week, I've already gone through and written this. So if you hear me going fast and you're like, how did he come up with that? I did do some trial and error on some of these things beforehand so that you didn't have to deal with that. So if you find that when you're writing drill and you can't go this fast, it's not because I'm superhuman and I know more than you. It's because I've already done it. And writing drill takes time. It's not something that usually everybody gets the first time they try, a chunk or a transition. So just know that in the effort to not waste time, I've already gone through a lot of this stuff to make sure it's great. All right. Before we begin, I can already see I have a T person. I don't know if you can see the T person. So I'm going to fix the T person because that's a great thing to show you. All right. So the T person looks like they're right over here. Looks like they're a tenor sax 1. So here's how you fix a T person. Sometimes when you open up your file, you'll have somebody all messed up here that lost their instrument. So what I do is I'll select them on page 0 or on count 0. And then I have to click on the visuals editor and I have to change them to a different instrument entirely. So brass will make that person a trumpet. And then I always go back and I'll make them a tenor saxophone. And all of a sudden, life is good and our T person is gone. All right. So let's jump right in. We started with a hold 14, actually. And then we have an 8 count transition to page 2. Now we have to make some decisions here before we go. So the very first section feature is trumpets and mellows, and that's with the drum line, or with the upper drum line, I should say. So we have to know that in 8 counts, I've got to get these folks here, the upper battery, and the trumpets and mellows. So they really don't have very far they can move, but we want to try to get them as close to each other as possible. So that's a decision we have to make. They're the most important section first. We have to make the decision for how we're going to move these props, because we do want to move them. We don't want them to sit stagnant here to the end. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to make the decision. The low brass are going to move theirs first over here. And the woodwinds are going to play their feature on these already staged this way, because the woodwinds don't really have as much time. They've got 8 and 16, and that's it. Then they have to come in. And then when they're done and the low brass are playing, they'll move theirs. So making these decisions up front is really important. Also important is to make sure that there's enough music built in to do that. And if there isn't enough music built in to move those props, then don't move them, or add some music to it. So it's very important that we get those parameters set first. All right. So I'm going to begin by moving my most important section. I'm just going to take my box selection tool and grab my snares and tenors. I'm going to move them straight forward because that's just a really easy thing to do, and try to get them as close to the trumpets and mellows as possible. Just going to push tool them forward. I'm going to move the trumpets and mellows. I'm going to lasso select them. And I'm just going to put them, just kind of connected to what's going on over here. So I'm going to make them an arc. Just do a little arc here. And we'll try to get them kind of down, say, over here. I should probably just use my stylus here. And we'll make them 8 steps from the front of the field. Uh-oh, I got the wrong page picked, don't I? Sorry. Did that wrong. Delete. I had page 3 selected. All right, there we go. Page 2. So let's bring these drumline guys down. And let's bring these trumpets and mellows to connect to them, and then they will be staged for their feature. And we will have the rifles be kind of the featured group. So this group right here is kind of the featured group at the beginning here. Good, let's have a look at that. So now we've got them all kind of placed in this visual pocket here. We didn't put the trumpets and mellows so close to the rifles that you couldn't see them. We left the rifles on the boxes so they can spin on the box. Okay, now next decision that we made was for the trombones to move the props. So what we need to do is we need to get the trombones starting to move towards their props. And I'm going to decide that I'm going to have 2 trombones per prop. So I need 8 of the trombones here. Now, the reason I do that is because what if one student is missing from rehearsal or doesn't come to the show for some reason? Maybe they're sick or maybe their sister is getting married. It's important to make sure that there's more than one person, if possible, that can be assigned to a prop. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of connect them. I'm going to start moving them in the direction of the props because that's where we want to go with it. Uh-oh, I think my hand touched the screen there. So I'm just going to kind of arc tool it over here. I'm going to keep it kind of connected if I can. These 2 will end up at this prop. So keeping it connected to the trumpets will look good. But I do need to get these guys kind of booking it so they can make it over to this prop over here. They still have plenty of time, a couple 16s. Let's put our low brass guys over here, baritones and tubas. Let's get them connected here. I'm just going to glue them together. Okay, and I'm going to keep them sort of connected to what's happening with this action here with the drums. Let's take it maybe 16 steps behind so nobody goes that far. So let's take a look at how that looks here. And let's also do this. I like to do, when we have these moments where nobody's playing, sometimes I will, especially if they're going to move props, I will go to the visuals editor, visuals, and I will go to layered pose 3, right. And we can have them do that in 4 counts. And then facing, follow the direction of movement, especially if they're going to take big steps. We'll hit apply changes. So now you will be able to see, hopefully, that they will kind of move, and I will try to zoom in a little bit on this so you can see it better as they go. Now they're moving in this direction. They've stayed connected, so it looks nice and clean. If the band, when the band cleans this, it'll make it look, nice that it stays connected this whole time. And then we'll get them over to these boxes, the next 16. All right, so we're good on side 2. Let's go over to side 1. I'm going to bring these rifles over here down off the props and just kind of out of the way so that they are not in focus. So we'll use the push tool again and just kind of take them off the boxes. That's fine. And we've got to move these woodwinds in the direction of the props because we have to set them up next. So they're going to have actually quite a big step size, I think, or at least some of them to try to get to here. But that's okay because they're not playing and they can face their dot as well. So it should be fine. Let's see. We're going to go to the really, did I move them that far? Oh, okay. Right. I'm gonna move them a little bit further. I think in my file, when I realized that they needed to be moved further, I changed that file, but you might not have that change, but that's fine. We'll go right here. Let's make this, we got to start getting them closer. Now I'm using the curve tool. So wherever I tap, just makes the curve, and then just kind of fine tuning it. What I'm probably going to end up doing is I'll do this first, and then when I go on to the next set, I'll maybe blend them together so that the kids don't feel like they're, you know, running like crazy. Good. Last people to move are my flags here. So I'm going to use my dot tool because I'm going to get them out of this. I'm going to get them out of this form here, and it's going to be quite a simple procedure. I'm going to move that person down, this person down. Yeah. And we're just going to kind of block it up here. So sometimes I like to use the dot tool when I do this, only because it kills two birds with one stone. I can create the form and choose who's going to that spot all in one. So that's just something I like to do. I know it probably seems a bit more time consuming, but it is something I like to do. All right, I'm also going to make these people face the direction of movement. Visuals editor, facing, follow direction of movement. Visuals, layered pose 3, right. I like to add these things as I go because it just helps me to visualize what's going on. Now, if your camera gets stuck in real view, way over to the side, all you have to do is press the little target down at the bottom right-hand corner. It's next to these 1 and 2. And then it'll reset kind of back to the front, right to the 50, kind of zoom in. Okay. All right, let's have a look at our 8 count set. Good. So these guys are all set up, snares, trumpets, mellows, ready to go. Woodwinds are headed towards the props. These rifles are off. They're getting out of the way so that they can move into position with the woodwinds on the next feature. So our next 16, or is it 16? Yeah, 16 is to get these woodwinds staged. I just got to set my snares and tenors back because I moved them on accident the last time. All right, so trumpets and snares are holding. So we're all good there, but we do have to get the trombones to the props. I'm also going to add the baritones behind the props with them because I'm going to actually have the baritones go up on the props, I think, because there's 4 baritones and 8 trombones. It really works for the trombones to move them and the baritones to get on top of them. Now for this page, I don't need to unlock them quite yet because the trombones are just going to them. So I'm going to stage 2 trombones on either side of the blocks. So I'm using my dot tool. And I know that they're glued from the bottom, you know, to the top. So that's what I'm going to just tap there and accept. So I know that they're going to make their way to the boxes. So they're at the boxes. They're going to grab them and then they're going to move them. Let's get the baritones down to here. Just going to put a baritone at each box to move along with it. We'll do we'll do 2 steps behind the box. And that way they'll follow the trombones. If for some reason both trombones were missing, at least you'd have 1 more baritone. So it's good to play it safe when you're doing this with adding people to move props. I'm going to have the rifles move off the boxes as well at the very end. So I'm going to move my yellow anchor. The last 4 of this 16 counts, I'm going to have them come off. Now in the notes, of course, I can tell them, I mean, they can move off whenever they want, you know, based off the work, but we're going to need them to be off the boxes by the end of the move so that the trombones can get ready to move them. All right. So I'm just going to have them just kind of come forward off the boxes. And maybe they can do a little toss or something that takes them off of the boxes, and it will look fancy schmancy. Let's get these guys moved and out of the way. I know that everything's going to have to start shifting to where these low brass guys kind of come down to do their thing. So I'm going to continue moving the sousaphones and baritones in that direction. So I've got a line tool, 3-step interval. Obviously, you can see I've designed this backwards, which is why all the lines are crazy. No worries, hit flip, and you should be good. I also did one thing where I'm still with the 4 counts. Did you see that? I just need to put page 3, select these guys again, and I'm going to fix that bridge by using the push tool. So I got to be careful that I don't, do that. Good. So we watch that animate. So they're off there, which is good. I'm going to also make sure in this 16, the baritones go to layered pose 3, because that will match what the trombones are doing. They can do that in 2 counts, sure. So now they all look the same. And they're ready to move those props. Now, let's get these woodwinds over to these props here. Now, I made the decision when I was writing the file that I was going to try to have the flutes get all the way up to this spot and have flutes on the boxes, and then the other woodwinds kind of right in front of the boxes so they could step out left and right either direction and do their feature. And then I realized, I think, that my first page was actually a bit too far away, and so I modified it, but I didn't do it for this file. It should still be fine though. But this would be a little bit more of a stretch than maybe someone would want to do. I'm going to go ahead and pull these rifles kind of out of the way, because they're going to be in the way of what the woodwinds are doing. So they're going to come down and just kind of be up front here, kind of out of the way. Actually, I think that's where they end up, which is good. So I chose to do kind of this type of thing because I had a good amount. I could do groups of 3s. There was 27. So I believe that that's 9 groups of 3. So I'm going to get my dot tool again, plunk some people onto, oh no, it's 6 to 5. That's fine. It's not that bad. And I just made some, and this was a little bit of trial and error. So don't feel like I knew everything about this. So there's my 9 that are going to make it to the props. And then I'm going to accept that. Sometimes I'll accept halfway through creating, and then I'll just look at kind of what I have left. Because if I know that I've got is good, I'll accept it. And then from here, you make the decision of what you want to do next. So I put them all right in front of each other. That way they feel a little bit more confident with their playing. They're playing kind of into the back of each other. And then from here, I'm going to design the other way, bottom to top. This will fold in nicely. So I put them at a 2-step interval front to back, and then they can step out when they play their runs. And if you feel like that's too cramped for you, then, by all means, spread it out a little bit. I find that the sometimes having those kids closer together during their features makes them play a little bit more confident. So I'm going to also have to do one thing that's important. These flutes, you'll see, are going to be sunk in the middle of the box because they haven't been checked yet to be put onto performer props. So I'll just select the whole line. You go to performer prop and say can walk on performer props, apply changes. So now you'll see those that are on props are actually standing on the prop, which is good. All right. Very good. Let's get their horns up. So I'm going to do visuals editor, horns up. We'll have them do the last 4 counts. That's fine. Ending at 38. Should look good. Now, you can also say, you know, maybe if they wanted to, they could get there early or get there in 12 counts so they can get set in 4 and then play. That could also be something that they do. So let's see what this looks like. You know, so obviously it looks kind of rushed the way it is here. So yeah, you may want to animate it where they get there a little bit sooner. We could do that if you'd like. You can hit one way to do it. Let's see. Yeah, it should be fine if I do this. I copy this form, then drag my red anchor back. So it's a 12 count move. And then I just hit paste and everything is good. It's saying this person's got to go pretty far if you do that. But I'll show you a way where we can make it maybe a little bit easier. Paste, and then you're going to drag over here so that those last 4 counts, they don't, there's no bridge there actually. It looks, I think it looks. Yeah, and actually what we'll do is that last 4, we'll do, first of all, we'll do edit, delete, just to make sure they're not moving anywhere. And then we'll go visuals facing, and we'll point them to the front and say, take 2 counts to turn front. So now they should get there. Take 2 counts to turn. And that looks a lot nicer. So they're ready for their feature. Good. The only other movement or the other group we have is these flags. So we decided the flags and rifles, this will be kind of the people who will support the woodwind feature. All right, so I'm going to take them, and I decided to do, just to bring them down, to keep it simple, keep them on yard lines. I put them at an angle because I thought that would look better. And then I moved them over so that they were on a yard line, all the flags on a yard line, 8 steps apart, and they can go ahead and be kind of the, you know, when you're looking at it from the 50, you kind of get them in the windows, and this will all be supported really well on the next set. Guys out. Okay, so now we've got our flags in place. You know, you could argue maybe they could be more stage, you know, over on the side 1 a bit more, but I think knowing where I got to go next and trying to get them back to the center of the field kind of for the ending, I don't want to necessarily get them too far away from what's going to happen next. Okay. All right. So we got 2 pages down. I hope you're hanging with me. I did mention that I was going to make that one transition here easier for this flute. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and those last 4 counts we eliminated from them. So that's a 12 count move. And then this was the previous 8 counts. So I'm going to take these folks these end 8 here that end up being in that line, or that's 9, isn't it? Yeah, 9. And I'm going to allow them to go straight here. So it's about a 5 to 5. Now that makes this form look a little funny. So you can go back if you need to, and you can modify it so that these other folks stay connected. Okay, so this is just one of those little tools that help to smooth things out. I'm going to try to knife these guys so that I can do it. And then I'm going to use my morph tool. Delete half. Pick a quarter step interval a little bit. I told you I was going fast tonight, guys. if it's going a little bit too quick, just let me know. But now we have a kind of a smooth transition, and they never really get any smaller than, you know, or any bigger than a 5 to 5, which is nice. And if they're facing their spot, it should be all good to go. All right, fantastic. Now, from here, we've got to unlock our props because we are going to start to move them on this side of the field. All right, so the next transition would be page 4. I'm quickly seeing that this might be, as I suspected, a two-parter because we can get to 6A tonight, and then maybe next week we can finish it up and add a bunch of visuals to it. But I don't know. We'll see. The last couple of pages go real quick. All right, so I like to lock my props. That way, whenever I'm selecting people, I don't have to worry about moving a prop or messing anything up. So I go to display. I'm going to unlock all locked performers, and you'll notice all of a sudden my props are unlocked. All right. So the next bit is to make the decision, where are we going to leave these props, or where are we going to move them to? I like to spread things out. I think younger drill designers, especially myself, my first 4 or 5 years, I wrote everything way too condensed. And every contest I would go to, we'd get the the feedback, and they'd say, you've got to spread out a little bit. All right, and I know with a smaller band, it gets scary that you may get too far away from the front sideline, but visually, the sight lines from the judges and what you do on the field, it looks so much better if you can actually spread those performers out. All right, so I'm going to try to keep 16 steps between these props. So I chose just to kind of 2 by 2 make these, and by the end of this whole feature, we'll have a block grid of these. So some are going to come down, some are going to go back or over. That's what I decided to do. All right, so I'm going to do this kind of again, because I kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to move the props and the performers at the same time. All right, so I chose for these guys to, using the push tool, come down, and I put them, over here. So 8 in front of the hash. So good, they can eyeball that as they go. I'm going to move these guys back just a little bit so they're 8 behind the hash. And then I'm just going to kind of do the same exact thing with the next crew here. I'm going to move them back. Whoop. Again, using my box selection tool. And then move this guy over. Okay, so now I've got 16 steps on either side of my props. And it looks kind of like Now we might want to do the thing like we did with the woodwinds, where we have them get there in 12 counts instead of 16. So the last 4 they can use to get set. So let's just go ahead and do that, because that's a clever idea to do. So we're going to go control, I'll highlight my people. Actually, we'll go back like this and just select all of them. It's getting a little cramped in here, so we got color guard all over the place. So copy, paste. So everything goes in 12. It's good. 8 to 5 is the biggest step size. Those last 4, I'm gonna just delete that transition just so we don't get any extra motion going on. Sometimes you get some goofiness happening. And let's just do it while we're here. Let's animate those baritones up onto the props. So push tool. And then you guessed it, they're going to need to go to visuals, performer prop, can walk on props. So now they should be on them. Of course, we've got the rifles. They're in the way still. I haven't moved them yet. Let's do this. Let's get these rifles out of the way. And I moved them so they were just up in front on yard lines. Very easy to clean and do. I'm going to move these trumpets forward. I believe I just, I just went down. I just went straight forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I just did 8 steps forward. Easy to clean. Perfect every time. I'm going to select these trombones. I'm also going to select the baritones. And on the last 4 of this move, I'm going to have them animate their horns up. Visuals. Did I accidentally get somebody who's... Oh yeah, I've got the props selected. Let's go ahead and lock those props. Display, lock. There we go. Sometimes if you select a performer that doesn't have a horn in their hands, so I selected the props, it won't let you do things like horns up in the visuals because that performer doesn't have a horn in their hands. Horns up. 4 counts, apply. So now we should have animated a prop move. We should have animated the rifles move, and then the trumpets and mellows kind of move and clear out. Let's see. Good. The only thing we need to do next is we need to get the low brass to face front because they're still doing that face the direction of movement thing. So visuals tool, facing, face the front in 2 counts. Now all of a sudden they... Good. And I might actually just move these rifles over 4 steps so that they're a little more centered and they don't do that thing where they were getting where the color guard member was actually on top of a prop there for a second. All right, I've got 5 sousaphones and I've got 5 basses that I still need to stage. And I'm going to choose to do some dice kind of right here in the mix. So dice, it's like this, the 2, 1, 2. I put them, just fold them in as you go. And accept. Let's see what that looks like. Good. No collisions. I got a bass 5 T-pose man. I'll fix him later. Yes, it looks nice. It's turning face direction of the props to get set. Rifles on this side are also staged. If I could go back again and set this up differently, I may put the flags maybe not so far on side 1, only because the flags really can only get in on supporting the woodwinds. They can't really get over here too much for supporting the low brass. So this side of the field is still holding because that's their feature. So we are already 3 pages down. Now, one thing I like to do as I go is I'm a stickler for labels. Every once in a while, I like to click the label tool, put them all straight down, as close as you can get, 1 click further, apply, and accept. And now the 3 pages of drill that we've written have nice looking labels. Okay? Good. So the next chunk, page 5, is a 20 count move. And on this 20 count move, we decided back when that the woodwinds were going to have to move their props. Now, if you ever get put in a situation where you're a drill designer and you have stuff that you have to move around the field, I've learned many a times through trial and error that it's best to just do it, just layer it. Don't try to move every prop all at the same time. And that's what we're doing here. We're going to layer it. So it's really important that you're not always trying to move, everything everywhere all at once. I didn't see the movie, by the way. I haven't. Eventually, though, I got to get to seeing it. It's an Oscar thing. It's all right. So we chose to do the flutes. I had 8 flutes. And I'm going to choose for them to move the props. So they are going to be my people to do it. I'm going to animate it so that, well, here's what we need to do. We actually need to get these, we need to get them off the boxes. So I'm going to add a page tab. All right, I'm going to go lock. I'm going to add a count move here. Maybe it could be 4 if we wanted to. But I'm going to add this so that we can have these flutes come off the boxes. And then I'm going to unglue you. There we go. And then that way they have time to get down. I don't want them feeling rushed because it's, when you're working with props, you want to try to do everything, give everyone enough time to do it. Think about those props on, if this band was in Georgia or was in Florida or something, these props are going to, they could be wet if it's raining or if it's just downright humid. I mean, Tim knows, living in Florida, every surface in the evening in the summer just gets wet because it's humid. So it's important that we don't have to make these people worry about falling off or anything. They don't have to rush. Now, I made the decision that at some point, because we have kind of an impact point coming up here, it would probably be good to get some more woodwinds on the boxes. So I made the decision that I was going to have it be these tenor sax and bari sax folks here. So, you can make whatever decision you'd like to do, but I chose to do that. So I'm going to make the decision now to unclip them. And I did it because I didn't have them do it at first. And then once I moved these boxes and I got to this next drum break thing, I thought, oh, we need to put somebody up on the boxes, And so then I had to kind of rewind back to this is where I started to do it. So I chose that it would be these guys to do it. All right. So we're going to move them and we're going to try to connect these guys with the trumpets. Just to try to get that continuity coming back. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue them together. And let's just grab the curve tool and let's, I don't want to stay outside this 25 too much. And we're going to kind of follow, maybe try to hide that a little bit. We're going to have to follow mainly the same look to this only because we only have 8 counts. Now, again, I'm designing backwards. I need to hit flip. There we go. Oh, look, and all my trumpets are all messed up. I thought I glued them together. I guess I didn't hit accept. It happens. It happens. There we go. Accept. Try it again. Try to keep it close because it is an 8-count move. And good. These guys are really booking it. So let's move it back towards the props. We need to move it closer. Good. We're getting closer. So I'm fine tuning the form. I'm going to go to quarter step. And that looks pretty good. Now let's get these rifles out of the way over here. They need to come down. Again, remember the focus is on the right side of the field. So these folks over here are tertiary, if you will. Good. We'll move them kind of in that space. And then we're going to start moving these color guard heroes here. I'm going to use my drag and connect method. So click here and then drag. Oh, and then I'm going to paste them this way. And I want to start to get these color guard folks back towards the 50. I want to start to get everything because we're going to come to the big hurrah at the end. So let's get them just kind of moving in that direction. Let's get them folded in and doing it straight across the field. That'll be easy with a bigger step size, about 5.5 to 5 or a 5-step interval. Never really go lower than that. All right, good. And then these people were, I just used my dot tool again. And I just kept them either on or splitting. When in doubt, keep it on the grid. If you can keep it on the grid, you know it's much easier for these kiddos to learn this stuff quickly. All right. All right. So we got that. Let's go on to the next set. We have some, these guys got reset. So we're going to edit and put them back. Delete transition. All right. So the last, I made a mistake with my page tab. It's a 7-count move. No. So here's how you fix this if you don't want to mess with, I put a page tab that I thought was 8, but it ended up being 7. Here's the way I would fix it, because then I wouldn't have to mess with any transitions. So I'll click on the 7-count move, utilities, and you go to count editor, shorten, lengthen transition, change to 8 counts. Now, it made the show 8 count, an extra count longer. So you need to go to the next one, which is 13. And you need to go to count editor, shorten, lengthen, and make that one 12. So now your counts are correct again, and you didn't have to go back or do anything with the transitions or the performers. So it's a good little tool there, the utilities and the change counts, as opposed to just moving it over one when then you'd have to redo any of the transitions you did. All right, so we got to get these props moved, which is the next bit. Okay, we're going to do the same similar process that we did before. We're going to mirror what's going on over here with what the woodwinds are going to do. So I'm going to highlight the prop and the performer, and I'm going to move that person down here to mirror what's going on. Now, again, this is my process. So this is the way I write. And it may seem, I'm not sure. I haven't watched too many other people ever sit and write drill on Pyware anyway. I've seen people do handwriting drill. But, you know, my process, I find can go quite quickly at times if you make the right decisions, right? And a lot of times we make a decision and then we've got to go back and we've got to fix it. You know, and that's all part of the trial and error process. So it's just one of those things that, you know, when the decisions were correct, it falls in place quite easily, kind of like I'm doing now. But I did have some trial and error with this. So again, take the speed at which I'm doing this with a grain of salt. I'm going to lock those props because I know that that's correct. That looks good. Yep, so they moved similarly to how the low brass moved theirs. Fold it in, fold it in. Looks much nicer. Good. So we want to get these 4 folks up and onto the box. So I'm going to use a little tool called the adjuster tool. So this should be quite fun. So you don't need to highlight anybody when you do the adjuster tool. But before I do that, I'm going to select them and I'm going to have them face the direction of movement. I'm going to do that on the previous set as well. And I'm also going to have them bring their horns down to layered pose 3 right. All right, so you don't have to highlight them. You can just click the adjuster tool, which is this red with a dot. And now you can move anybody you want. So if you want this Barry sax player to go onto that prop, you can do that. And then you can edit their path. Fewer handles, take a curved path. Let's kind of have them come around like this. That should be kind of good. Then you hit edit path, and now they're done. So you can go on to the next person. This person doesn't need as much done. Maybe just a little curve path like that, edit path, and you're done. So it's kind of a strange tool where you use the edit path and then you turn it off to go to the next person. So we're going to put that person onto this prop, edit path. So anytime I have a lot of curved path stuff, I'll usually use this tool, edit path. And then finally, tenor sax. I get rid of some of those handles and I do it. Okay, so now they should kind of go into that group and come around and end up on top of the box. Okay, and I'm also going to animate their horns up the last 4 because they have to play after the oh no they don't, it's a drum break, isn't it? Yeah, this thing, right? Oh yeah, so that's going to be a big time choreo moment, and we've got people on either side of the props on, you know, it's going to be a really cool thing. We can add some stuff there to really highlight that. So that should be great. Awesome. Now, one good thing to do as well is if you do have curve paths, highlight the people that have the curve paths, click on the arrow tool, and then hit create arrows from paths. Yes. And look at this. Boom. You have instant arrows, and that helps. And in when you get into if you have Ultimate Drill Book, all of those paths are kind of saved, and those people will see that curved path in Ultimate Drill Book. All right. Oh, we're at 1 hour, which is good. Like I said, I think what we'll do is we'll get up to this end point here, and then we'll be good there, so we don't go too much longer. All right. I know you probably if you're joining me and you're doing this along with me, you're probably pulling your hair out because you're like, he's going too fast. And if you're not, then you're probably like, this is boring, which is, I get it. But drill design is not the most amusing thing to watch, but hopefully you're able to glean some stuff from my process. All right, so we moved these. Low brass are still holding. Woodwinds have moved this. So we've really just got to move the rifles, the flags, and this last group of folks here. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to have, I chose to make, when we got to this hold set, I wanted to get the drums to the center so they can be featured. And then I needed to kind of balance this group of 5 Sousas with a group of 5 clarinets. So that's kind of was the decision I made that I came to by kind of trial and error and just kind of counting up the amount of people I had. So these 5 clarinets are going to kind of do the same thing we got going on the other side of the field with the tubers over here. And we're going to move them in. I'll go like this. Actually, no, we'll put them like dice, like the tubas. And then fold them up. That should be fine. So that'll be a good little transition that way. And then these guys down here are going to open up to, I believe did I go all the way there? Yeah. Oh no, I took 8 more counts out of the drum solo. I did. That's what I ended up doing because the flags needed it in the back. All right, so I'm gonna start moving these people to getting closer to where the hit set, if you will, is going to be. So we just kind of connected these guys in 8 and then opened them up a bit so they're out of the way of the woodwinds. And so then where did I put my, oh yeah, my rifles went to the front where they're gonna hold here because they're kind of the next group. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna put them all splitting because the other 4 will join them eventually. So there we go. And then that's good. So this is the low brass feature. Oh no, I didn't get the flags are still back here. So I'm trying to get these flags back to center a little bit, making their way across. That's my window. And then this guy should be about good. So they're making their way back. And what I'm going to do actually is I'll just take all of these 20 counts and allow the color guard to move to that set. That makes it a little bit easier and makes it flow a little bit better. Play. So the only thing I'm seeing in this that I don't necessarily like is that my trumpets and mellows are really close to what's going on over here. So I'm actually going to take them and try to morph this and keep this from becoming in focus of what's going on. And it might make actually the woodwind's job over here just a little bit better, a little bit easier. Okay, so now I'm really, oh no. Sometimes when I hold my pen tool down on the thing, it messes up. Good. So let's just bring this kind of just out of focus. We don't want the trumpets and mellows to get in the way. That should help just a little bit more. And actually, it will be good for these rifles over here. And then I'll actually do this. No. Maybe we can make this 25 to 25. Where is a 3-step interval? Let's grab a 3-step. And then let's just center it. Well, we have a even number. All right, so a straight line. There we go. Hopefully that keeps the trumpets out of the trumpets and mellows out of the focus. Yeah, it's a little bit better. Good, and the woodwind's got the things moved. And then actually, if I want to, I could probably make this mirror what the tubas are doing. Yeah. It's not too bad, not too bad. Could even move them towards that so that it's a 20 count move for them. Nope, don't want to do that. Control Z. Done. There we go. I'm just gonna move that down a little bit to make it easier. Put a little more space between them and the props. All right, so I needed to have a couple more. Oh, thanks, Phil. I needed to have a couple more counts to kind of get these rifles out of the way, get the percussion into focus. And so I took 8 counts out of this drum break to do that because I felt like the musically actually it would actually fit. You know, so it kind of would fit with the feet pretty well. It wasn't too notey at that point. So I did it. I put an 8 count set in there, set 7, 8 counts after set 6. And then I actually just got rid of this tab here, page 8. So it's a hold 20. So now this got modified to move. So that was kind of how we did it. And that way we get the percussion into place. So we're going to do this way. Oh, my tenor drums are in the middle. That must have been another difference that I did beforehand. That's okay though. So I want to get in my 8 counts, I want to get my percussion kind of connected here in the center. All right. So let me go ahead. I'm just going to glue these guys together. And normally I would have my tenors on the outside here. But it's okay. We'll go roll with it for now. And I'm going to do the multiple interval thing. So I know I'm designing from right to left, I believe. So 5 bass drums times 3 steps. Oh, sorry, guys. I've got 11. Yeah, there you go. 5 times 3. 3 tenors? 2 tenors. No, 2 tenors. 2 times 3. And 4 times 2 for snares. So this is a pretty big haul to get here. Here we go. All right, so we've got the drums all centered now. I'll put that tenor right on the 50. And then for everybody else, I got to get these rifles up here to. Sometimes it feels just like piecing together the puzzle when you get your elements kind of in place and around. It's just, you know, kind of like one of those type of deals. You just move this, move that. Good. I ran these guys out to the 20. Wow, that was and then 12 steps from the back. Now, if we're going to do that, though, we need to kind of maybe modify our other set. And we're very close to a 4-step interval across the front. So maybe I don't know if I could stretch it. We'll keep it here for right now. So these rifles moved up to match the rifles on the left.
You notated them from right to left when we thought it was going to be left to right. Why did you go right to left?
Oh, well, that's how I glued them. So when I was in this set here and I went on to set 7, I selected them and then I hit the glue tool and I glued it from right to left. But it matches. I mean, there's 5 bass drums, 2 tenors, and then the 4 snares. So, all right, let's keep it simple over here. I connected these guys. I just did a 45 angle, so I needed to make my clarinets and sousaphones. Wanted to have some sort of connection around the form here. I'm going to clear that out. So how do I want to do this? I can do it. We'll do this. Pull here. Good. And then that way you have that look. Boom. That'll look good. Then I can just take that, copy, grab these guys, paste, mirroring options, paste across the mid stage. I'm going to clear it out. And there you go. Looks like the Sousas are booking it there. So I could maybe have them. Yeah, they should be fine. They're not playing. But if not, I could move them down here. Famous last words, right? They're not playing. Could move them 2 steps forward. That's fine. Edit, delete, make it a little bit easier for them. There we go. Excelente. There we go. All right. There. Opens up. Now the only group we have left to do is my flags in the back. I've got 10. So I should be able to do some bowling pins. So let's do that. Let's pin it up. I'm going to do this in 2 steps. Sometimes I like to do this when I go to a block form from a curve. You know me, I like to do my dot tool. And then because I'll show you again before I go. These are actually, so I'm going to design from right to left because that's how they're glued. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've got some bowling pins. And then I'll take them and I'll try to get them to where they connect with this form. Put it right on the 50. And then let's just bring it out to, oh, don't want that. Stretch. There we go. Good. And then that's going to be too close, I feel like. 5-step interval front to back. And it's a little funky across here. Maybe we can get to something. There we go. Yeah, that'll be good. 12, 13, 14 step interval. So it's all on the grid. There we go. Not exactly matching that angle, but there's no judges over there. They're all on the 50. So I think we'll be okay. And then they'll hold there for the drumline action. So here in this first 8 that we added, I would go ahead and make all of the wins into layered pose 3 people. Visuals, oh, not wall pose. And then we can go ahead during this. And then actually, I'm also going to select those folks and just make sure everyone's facing front. And then that way we can add a visual here and then, make the rifles toss and that sort of thing. So here's what we did. All right. Little recap. Without any visuals added in our holds, in an hour, we did a pretty good job, I think. Let's see. To the races to finish up the end in the last couple sets. And then in my process, I would probably go back from there and just kind of add some little visuals and lunges and other things to some of the hits and holds, maybe smooth out a couple things. But I tried to make sure as I went to do that, and you had a chance to kind of just see. But that's about as much as I would do in real time. Most of like the flag spinning stuff, I'll add all that last. But I do like to smooth out my forms a bit. I don't mind if I end up, if I end up with a set that's like this, where it is a little weird, where this interval is bigger than this interval, I still feel like if you make it easier for the students, it's going to look clean. Like this is halfway through a set for the color guard, so it looks kind of funky. You can't be afraid of stuff like that, because I think if you make the pathway good and you make their job as a performer easier, then the drill will always look better, as opposed to forcing them to go this direction and then that direction. So yeah, that's just one thing that I like to do. I think it really helps. So that's where we're at. I don't want to bore you or keep you too much longer. I had a feeling when we got started that we might need the next session to finish this up. But I think what we'll do on the next session is we'll finish this drill up, and then I'll show you everything that I do to dress it up visually with the visuals editor, everything I do to format it, and what I would deliver to a client, just so that you have an idea of everything that goes into producing the entire package.